Hey, welcome everybody. This is the contract to closing class for Weichert Realtors Unlimited. I've decided to break this class on our video series as we're working from home right now. Break this class into four separate segments, make it a little bit more bite-sized and maybe give it a little bit easier access to each individual piece of the contract to closing process. So first of all, I want to start with a quick overview of contract to closing. It is one of the most important things that we do as real estate agents. As some of us know, the public opinion of a realtor sometimes is just that we open doors for folks, and unfortunately, sometimes it's an earned reputation, but hopefully not from anybody with our firm. But one of the times that we spend a lot of effort with our client is the contract to closing process. So once the contract is actually signed and delivered, then we have to bring it to closing. And a good real estate agent makes an enormous difference during this process. And certainly for your future referrals, this is where you will earn those referrals. So it's a very important process. There's a lot of little tips and tricks to learn as you go. So hopefully I can give you a couple of good ideas of what to do and maybe some what not to do during this process. So let's get started. So the overview is once you're under contract with your client, you need to get that communication to everybody involved, the attorneys, the lenders, the other agents, your client, everybody involved, right? So that's the first piece. The second piece is the due diligence setup, getting all your inspections and any kind of due diligence that will be set up. So that's what we'll be talking about in the next video. And going through those inspections and the appraisals and what to do, what not to do. That's the next part. And then your due diligence request. What do we want to request that the seller do for the property? And as the seller, what should we be expecting from the buyer's agent? So we'll look at it from both sides. And then next is the communication throughout. We'll talk a lot about communication um, as we work through these different sections, but communication is the key to being um, someone who's thought of as a good agent and maybe someone who's not thought of as a good agent, even though the two people do the exact same things. But once somebody who's communicating throughout the process, even just saying, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of this guy, he's not calling me back, that communication is key. We'll talk more about that. And then after your due diligence request, the repair verifications. So how do we verify that something has been actually repaired? The final walkthrough, how do we do that? And then actually go into closing, what to expect the days prior to closing and the day of closing. All right, so that's your quick overview of what we'll be going through on this first video. I wanted to give you that overview and then talk about the first little section, which is your contract communication. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what is a contract. So the contract is not when the seller emails or calls you as the buyer's agent and says, "Hey, we have a deal. Sounds like we're gonna be able to make this work." You're not under contract yet, right? It has to be in writing. And it's key that you talk to your clients about this, both sellers and buyers. Make sure that you use the right words and not saying, hey, congratulations, you're under contract. No, they're not. You say, congratulations, they have verbally accepted the offer. We need to get this signed as soon as possible so they will sign it so that we can go under contract. All right, so choose your words carefully. I've been a part of some deals and managed more deals where there's some heartache between clients and agents because the client thought we were under contract because the agent may or may not have actually said that. And then, sure enough, another offer comes in and something blows up, and then they're really upset because they understood that they were under contract. So it's really important that we be careful on the words we're using there. Okay. Um, so we are actually under contract, which means both sides have signed everything. All the initials are done. Every change has been initialed and changed and signed off on. So we are actually under contract. As soon as you're under contract, the very first thing that I want you to do is to make sure you email that contract, every bit of it, not your agency agreements, nothing like that, but the repair request, the addendum, any addenda that are part of it, and certainly obviously the contract itself gets emailed to everyone involved. And I like to do it all in the same email. And when I say as soon as possible, I mean the second you have that contract in hand, email that out to everybody. All right, so that's my little system, I guess you could call it. I just simply don't let myself do anything else. If I had time to open up that email, then I have time to send another quick email to everyone else. It won't take more than 2 or 3 minutes to send that email out. But I want to send that to my client. Let's just pretend we're the buyer agent here, okay? So we signed the contract, we sent it to the listing agent sent it back to us. So now I get that email. I'm going to take that contract, I'm going to send it to my client, because by law you have to give them a signed copy of the contract, right? So send it to them, send it to the closing attorney, send it to the lender, and send it to anyone else that you think might need a copy of it. But those are the big three. All right. So send it all on the same email, copying everybody, not blind copying anybody. Everybody's on the same email. Okay. So the reason for that is these people need to talk to each other. And most of the time for the attorney and sometimes for the lender, this email is the first time they are hearing that we are under contract. So what I like to do is start up at the top, put a header, say Jones contract 123 Main Street as the header or as a subject line. And then I say, addressing my client first, hey, congratulations, Joe and Lisa Jones. So excited to work with you through this deal. Attached, you'll find the signed contract. Space. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Attorney, here's the contract for 123 Main Street. The Jones family has asked to work with you as their closing attorney. We thank you for starting the process. Attached, you'll find the contract. The lender's information is here below. Please let us know if you need anything else. Return, right? And then lender, hey, Kristen Rogers, want to let you know that the Jones family is now under contract, and we get started on things. Please get with them as soon as possible, making sure they have all documents in that you're going to need. Let me know if I can help with that in any way. Above here, you'll see the attorney that they're using. Please contact them for any information you need to get to the closing attorney. And there you go. So all the information on one, and then it helps save other emails because it's all going to the same people. All right. So that's a very key part of the process. I have been a part of deals where I made an oopsie daisy and didn't send something to the lender. Maybe I had a phone conversation with them or a text, or I thought I had a phone conversation with them and let them know we're under contract. Just come to find out 3-4 days later, a week later, they're like, oh, I didn't know they were under contract yet. Like, oh my gosh, we cannot let that happen, right? That's our job. So the way I found around that for me was just to send that email immediately as soon as I get that thing under contract. Okay. So that's the first part of the contract to closing process. It is so key that you get that communication out. And we're going to talk more about communication later. But the number one thing, if you take anything from this little video series, is to communicate with everyone involved in the process. All right, so I'm going to say it now and I'll say it again later. As you go through this process, every single day, you should look at that file. That doesn't mean you have to spend an hour on the file, doesn't mean you have to spend 3 hours on the file, doesn't mean you have to spend any more than 1 or 2 minutes on each closing that you have, okay? And here's what you'll do. You'll take the file out and you'll say, okay, well, today I haven't contacted my client in a couple of days. I'm going to email the client, or I'm going to call the client and say, hey, how's it going? Here's what I've got going on in the deal. Let me know if you need anything, or maybe I have something to go over with them, and you communicate with them. And then the next day, you're going to email the lender and say, hey, do you have everything you need on this file? And the point is, if you don't think you need to communicate with them, you're wrong. And if you don't think, well, there's no reason for me to email them, that's the point. Email them and say, hey, is there anything you need from me? When are we having the appraisal done? Or, whatever it is. Same thing with the attorney. Hey, did you get that file? I've had issues where we're coming the week before closing and I contact the attorney and say, hey, how's it going? Just wanted to check in on this file. And they say, what file? The file I emailed you 45 days ago. And they say, oh, yeah, I guess it got lost, So it's we're all human. We all make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. The attorneys are going to make mistakes. The lender's going to make mistakes. The way around that is to just help the communication process. And if there is something lost in the file or somebody wasn't notified of something, it gets fixed as soon as possible so it doesn't cause some sort of delay or catastrophic issue. Okay. So that's the first video in the series, and go ahead and click through to the next one, and we'll move forward on the due diligence setup and process. Thank you.